The fabric of reality trembles with every breath you take, every thought that crosses your mind, every emotion that wells up from the depths of your being. This isn't poetry. This is the fundamental truth that quantum physics has revealed about the nature of existence itself. Right now, as you read these words, you are participating in the most extraordinary phenomenon imaginable: the continuous creation and recreation of reality through the sheer power of conscious observation. Consider for a moment the chair you're sitting in, the device you're reading from, the air surrounding you. To your senses, these appear as solid, unchanging objects, fixed points in a stable universe. Yet quantum physics tells us a radically different story. At the subatomic level, everything you perceive as solid matter is actually composed of energy patterns, probability waves, and potential outcomes existing in a state of constant flux. The electrons spinning around atomic nuclei aren't tiny planets orbiting a sun, they're probability clouds, existing in multiple states simultaneously until the precise moment they're observed. This revelation forces us to confront a mind-bending possibility. If the fundamental building blocks of reality exist in states of potential until observed, what role does consciousness play in determining which potentials become manifest? The implications ripple outward like waves in a cosmic pond, touching every aspect of human experience, from the most mundane daily interactions to the grandest dreams and aspirations that drive us forward. The observer effect, one of quantum mechanics' most puzzling and profound discoveries, demonstrates that the act of observation fundamentally changes what is being observed. When scientists direct their attention toward a quantum particle, measuring its properties, they force it to choose a specific state from among its many possibilities. Before measurement, the particle exists in what physicists call superposition, a ghostly state where it embodies all possible outcomes simultaneously. The moment consciousness encounters it through observation, this wave of probability collapses into a single definite reality. But here's where the story becomes truly extraordinary. Consciousness isn't just passively witnessing this collapse, it's actively participating in the selection process. Your awareness, your focus, your very act of paying attention serves as the catalyst that transforms infinite potential into concrete experience. This means that in every moment of every day, you are unconsciously wielding the power to influence the nature of reality itself. Think about the last time you walked into a crowded room and immediately sensed the mood: the tension before an argument, the excitement before celebration, the heavy silence after bad news. That intuitive awareness you felt wasn't just emotional sensitivity. It was your consciousness picking up on the quantum information field generated by the collective thoughts and feelings of everyone present. Each person's internal state was broadcasting energetic signatures that your awareness could detect and interpret, creating a shared reality that existed beyond any individual's direct control. This interconnectedness extends far beyond casual social interactions. When you focus your attention with intention and emotional intensity, you're not just thinking thoughts into a void. You're broadcasting coherent patterns of energy that interact with the quantum field in measurable ways. The thoughts charged with the strongest emotional content create the most significant disturbances in this field, like dropping stones of different sizes into still water. A casual, half-hearted wish creates barely a ripple, while a burning desire backed by unwavering faith and deep emotional conviction generates waves that can travel far beyond your immediate environment. The emotional component cannot be overstated in its importance. Neuroscience has revealed that emotions aren't just subjective experiences floating somewhere in the ether of consciousness. They're complex electrochemical events that fundamentally alter your brain's structure and function. When you experience intense emotion, your neural networks fire in specific patterns that create coherent electromagnetic fields extending beyond your physical body. These fields carry information about your internal state and broadcast it into the quantum field that connects all things. Joy creates one type of signature, fear creates another, love generates its own unique pattern, and gratitude produces yet another distinct frequency. Each emotional state you experience doesn't just affect your personal reality, it contributes to the collective emotional atmosphere that influences everyone around you. This is why being around genuinely happy people tends to elevate your own mood. Why walking into a space where an argument recently occurred can feel uncomfortable even when you don't know what happened. And why spending time with someone who is deeply depressed can leave you feeling drained and heavy. The research into heart coherence provides compelling evidence for these energetic interactions. The HeartMath Institute has discovered that the human heart generates an electromagnetic field 60 times greater in amplitude than the brain and can be detected several feet away from the body. When you experience coherent emotions like love, gratitude, or compassion, your heart rhythm becomes more ordered and harmonious, creating a field that can actually synchronize with and influence the heart rhythms of people nearby. This heart-brain coherence creates an optimal state for quantum creation because it aligns your entire physiology around a single focused intention. When your heart and brain are working in harmony, generating coherent electromagnetic patterns, you become a much more powerful broadcaster into the quantum field. This is why practices that cultivate heart-centered emotions are so effective for manifestation. They literally tune your entire being to a frequency that the quantum field can easily read and respond to. The brain itself appears to be exquisitely designed to facilitate this quantum interaction between consciousness and reality. Recent research into the microtubular structures within neurons suggests that these tiny cellular components may function as quantum processors, capable of maintaining quantum coherence even in the warm, wet environment of living tissue. These microtubules form vast networks throughout the brain, creating an internal quantum computer of staggering complexity and capability. Stuart Hameroff and Roger Penrose have proposed that consciousness itself emerges from quantum processes occurring within these microtubular structures. If their theory is correct, then every thought you think involves quantum computations that could potentially influence quantum fields extending beyond your physical brain. Your consciousness wouldn't just be a local phenomenon contained within your skull. It would be a non-local field that can interact with quantum processes throughout the universe. When you engage in practices like meditation, visualization, or focused intention setting, you're essentially programming this quantum computer to broadcast specific patterns into the field of potential outcomes. The more clearly you can imagine your desired reality, the more vividly you can feel the emotions associated with achieving your goals. And the more consistently you can maintain this focused state, the more powerfully you influence the probability waves that eventually collapse into your lived experience. But the process isn't instantaneous or automatic. Reality has its own momentum, its own inertia that resists sudden changes. Think of it like turning a massive ship. Even when you spin the wheel hard to starboard, the vessel continues moving in its original direction for some time before the new heading begins to manifest. Your current circumstances are the result of countless previous thoughts, emotions, and choices, all of which have created momentum in specific directions. This momentum operates on multiple levels simultaneously. At the biological level, your neural pathways have been carved by years or decades of repetitive thought patterns. These pathways create automatic responses that fire faster than conscious awareness can intervene. At the energetic level, your habitual emotional patterns have established particular frequencies that you broadcast consistently, attracting circumstances that match those frequencies. At the social level, the people around you expect you to behave in certain ways and may unconsciously resist changes that challenge their perception of who you are. This is why transformation requires persistence and faith. When you begin consciously directing your thoughts and emotions toward a new reality, you're essentially arguing with the momentum of your past choices. The old patterns will continue manifesting for a while, and it's during this lag time that most people give up, concluding that conscious creation doesn't work. They plant seeds of new possibility and then dig them up every few days to see if anything is growing, destroying the tender shoots of emerging change before they can take root. The key lies in understanding that you're not just trying to change your external circumstances. You're rewiring the fundamental patterns of thought and feeling that created those circumstances in the first place. Every time you catch yourself falling into old mental habits and consciously choose a different response, you're strengthening new neural pathways while allowing old ones to atrophy. This internal change must solidify before external change can fully manifest. Neuroplasticity research has shown that the brain remains changeable throughout life, capable of forming new connections and reorganizing existing networks based on repeated experiences. When you consistently practice new ways of thinking and feeling, you're literally sculpting your brain into a new configuration. This neurological rewiring is what makes the changes permanent rather than temporary fluctuations. The quantum field responds to authenticity and emotional truth, not just positive thinking or wishful fantasy. There's a profound difference between genuinely feeling grateful for what you have and mechanically reciting affirmations while your heart remains closed and bitter. The field reads the totality of your being, not just the surface layer of conscious thought. This is why personal transformation work often involves confronting and healing old wounds, limiting beliefs and emotional patterns that operate below the threshold of normal awareness. When you carry unresolved pain, fear, or resentment, these emotional states continue broadcasting their signatures regardless of what you're trying to consciously create. It's like trying to tune into a clear radio station while powerful interference keeps breaking through. The static of unhealed emotional patterns will distort or completely override the signal you're trying to transmit. The subconscious mind, which operates below conscious awareness, controls an estimated 95% of your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. This vast unconscious territory contains all of your memories, learned patterns, and automatic responses. If the programs running in your subconscious mind conflict with your conscious intentions, the subconscious will almost always win because it operates much faster and with much more energy than conscious thought. This is why simply thinking positive thoughts or visualizing desired outcomes often fails to produce lasting change. If your subconscious mind holds beliefs about limitation, unworthiness, or scarcity, these deeper patterns will continue creating experiences that match those beliefs, regardless of what your conscious mind is trying to achieve. The healing process itself becomes a form of quantum reprogramming. As you acknowledge, feel, and release old emotional charges, you're literally changing the energetic signature you broadcast into the field. Forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, acts like clearing interference from your transmission, allowing your conscious intentions to broadcast with greater clarity and power. Trauma, in particular, creates energetic distortions that can persist for years or decades after the original event. When you experience trauma, your nervous system gets stuck in survival mode, broadcasting frequencies of fear, helplessness, or rage that attract circumstances matching those emotional states. Healing trauma isn't just about feeling better psychologically. It's about clearing energetic blockages that prevent you from accessing your full creative potential. Various therapeutic approaches can facilitate this quantum healing. Traditional talk therapy helps by bringing unconscious patterns into conscious awareness where they can be examined and changed. Body-based therapies, like somatic experiencing, work directly with the nervous system to release stored trauma patterns. Energy healing modalities address the subtle electromagnetic fields that surround and interpenetrate the physical body. Breathwork has emerged as a particularly powerful tool for quantum transformation because it directly affects both the nervous system and consciousness. When you change your breathing pattern, you immediately alter your brainwave states, nervous system activation, and electromagnetic field. Specific breathing techniques can induce non-ordinary states of consciousness where deep healing and reprogramming can occur more easily than in normal waking awareness. This individual transformation process connects to something much larger than personal improvement or wish fulfillment. As quantum physics reveals the fundamental interconnectedness of all things, it becomes clear that personal change is simultaneously collective change. When you shift your own frequency, you contribute to shifting the frequency of the whole. This isn't metaphorical or symbolic. It's a measurable phenomenon that occurs through the non-local connections that quantum mechanics has proven exist between all particles that have ever interacted. Since the Big Bang, every particle in the universe has been in contact with every other particle. This means that everything exists in a state of quantum entanglement. Changes to one part of the system instantaneously influence all other parts, regardless of the apparent distance or separation between them. Your thoughts and emotions don't just affect your personal experience, they contribute to the collective human consciousness that shapes our shared reality. The morphic field theory proposed by biologist Rupert Sheldrake provides another framework for understanding how individual transformation contributes to collective change. Sheldrake suggests that when enough members of a species learn new behaviors or develop new capabilities, this information becomes available to all members of the species through morphic resonance. The more people who achieve a particular type of transformation, the easier it becomes for others to achieve the same transformation. Historical examples of this principle abound. During the 1960s, a relatively small number of people began shifting their consciousness toward peace, love, and social transformation. Their new ways of thinking and feeling spread like ripples through the collective field, ultimately contributing to massive cultural, political, and social changes that affected millions of people who never directly encountered the original peace activists. The civil rights movement, the environmental movement, the shift toward gender equality, all of these emerged from the quantum field as enough individuals began holding new visions of what was possible. The phenomenon of simultaneous invention provides compelling evidence for the collective nature of consciousness. Throughout history, major discoveries and innovations have often emerged simultaneously in different locations among people who had no contact with each other. The telephone, the light bulb, calculus, the theory of evolution, all of these breakthrough ideas appeared to multiple inventors or thinkers at the same time, as if the ideas were emerging from a collective field of possibility rather than individual minds. This collective aspect of consciousness means that your personal transformation work is actually a service to humanity as a whole. Every moment you choose love over fear, gratitude over resentment, or hope over despair, you're contributing positive momentum to the collective field that influences everyone's potential outcomes. You're voting for the kind of world you want to live in, with every thought you think and every emotion you feel. The practice of conscious reality creation begins with taking full responsibility for your internal state. This doesn't mean blaming yourself for circumstances beyond your control or pretending that external challenges don't exist. It means recognizing that regardless of what happens around you, you always have the power to choose your response, and that response shapes what happens next. Start by developing awareness of your habitual thought patterns. Most people think the same thoughts over and over, creating deep mental ruts that automatically trigger corresponding emotional states and behavioral responses. These unconscious patterns operate like background programs running on a computer, consuming processing power and influencing outcomes without your conscious knowledge. The average person thinks approximately 60,000 thoughts per day, but research suggests that 90% of these are repetitions from the day before. This means that most people are unconsciously recreating the same reality over and over again simply through the force of mental habit. Breaking free from this cycle requires developing the ability to observe your thoughts without being completely identified with them. Mindfulness meditation provides an excellent foundation for developing this observer awareness. When you practice mindfulness, you're training your consciousness to step back from the constant stream of thoughts and emotions and recognize them as temporary phenomena rather than absolute truths. This creates space between your essential self and your mental patterns, giving you the freedom to choose which thoughts to encourage and which to release. Begin each day by setting a clear intention for how you want to feel and what you want to create. This isn't about making demands of the universe or trying to control specific outcomes. It's about choosing a frequency, an energetic signature that you commit to maintaining regardless of what challenges or opportunities arise. When you start your day by consciously choosing your internal state, you're programming your quantum computer to seek out and recognize possibilities that match that frequency. The quality of your attention determines the quality of your experience. Where you place your focus is where your creative energy goes. If you spend most of your mental energy dwelling on problems, limitations, and past disappointments, you're unconsciously creating more of the same. Conversely, when you consistently focus on possibilities, solutions, and desired outcomes, you begin attracting circumstances that match those focal points. Visualization becomes a powerful tool when you understand its quantum mechanical basis. When you create vivid mental images of your desired reality, your brain activates the same neural networks that would fire if you were actually experiencing those circumstances. This neural activation generates electromagnetic patterns that broadcast into the quantum field, essentially creating a template or blueprint that the field can use to guide the collapse of probability waves in your favor. But visualization alone isn't enough. You must feel the emotions associated with your desired reality. Emotion provides the energy that powers the manifestation process. Think of thoughts as the blueprint and emotions as the construction crew. You can have the most detailed architectural plans in the world, but without workers to build according to those plans, nothing gets constructed. The emotions you cultivate should be those you would naturally feel if your desired reality were already manifest. If you're working toward financial abundance, spend time genuinely feeling the security, freedom, and gratitude you would experience with unlimited resources. If you're calling in a loving relationship, feel the joy, connection, and appreciation you would have with your ideal partner. If you're healing from illness, feel the vitality, strength, and wholeness of perfect health. This emotional cultivation requires practice because most people have been trained to base their feelings on their current circumstances rather than their potential futures. Society teaches us that events cause emotions. Something happens, then we feel a certain way about it. Quantum creation reverses this process. You feel a certain way, then events occur that match those feelings. The coherence between your thoughts, emotions, and actions creates the most powerful manifestations. When all levels of your being are aligned around the same intention, you become an irresistible force in the quantum field. Conversely, when your thoughts say one thing, your emotions feel another, and your actions demonstrate a third, you create conflicting signals that cancel each other out. The challenge lies in maintaining your chosen emotional state when external circumstances seem to contradict your intentions. This is where faith becomes a quantum tool rather than just a religious concept. Faith, in the quantum sense, means continuing to hold your chosen frequency even when the physical world hasn't yet reflected the changes you're creating at the energetic level. Quantum faith requires understanding the nature of time and causality from a quantum perspective. In the quantum realm, effects can precede causes, and future events can influence past occurrences. This means that the reality you're creating in the quantum field exists in a state of potential that can retroactively influence the circumstances leading up to its manifestation. When you maintain faith in your intended outcome, you're creating a future causality that reaches back to reorganize present probabilities. Meditation serves as perhaps the most powerful practice for developing this quantum creative ability. When you quiet the constant chatter of surface thoughts and drop into deeper levels of awareness, you gain access to the quantum field itself. In these expanded states of consciousness, you can sense the vast web of potential outcomes surrounding every moment and consciously choose which threads of possibility to strengthen through your attention and intention. Different types of meditation affect the quantum field in different ways. Concentration practices, where you focus intensely on a single object or concept, teach you to collapse probability waves with precision and power. The laser-like focus developed through concentration meditation creates coherent intentions that can influence reality with remarkable specificity. Mindfulness practices, where you observe whatever arises without attachment, help you recognize the fluid, changeable nature of reality and develop the flexibility to shift patterns quickly when needed. This open awareness allows you to perceive the quantum field directly, experiencing reality as a flowing stream of possibilities rather than fixed structures. Heart-centered practices, where you cultivate emotions like love and gratitude, Charge your intentions with the high-frequency energies that create the most powerful manifestations. When your heart opens in genuine appreciation or unconditional love, you align with the fundamental creative force of the universe itself. The timing of your practice matters as well. The moments just after waking and just before sleep are particularly potent because your brainwaves naturally exist in the theta and alpha frequencies that facilitate quantum coherence. During these times, your conscious mind has less control over your thoughts and emotions, allowing you to access and reprogram the deeper patterns that normally operate below conscious awareness. These hypnagogic and hypnopompic states, the twilight zones between sleeping and waking, provide direct access to the subconscious mind. In these states, the critical faculty that normally filters and analyzes information is relaxed, making it much easier to install new beliefs and emotional patterns. Many traditions have recognized the power of these threshold states and developed specific practices to take advantage of their transformative potential. Regular practice creates cumulative effects that compound over time. Each session doesn't just influence your immediate reality, it contributes to building new neural pathways and energetic patterns that make subsequent sessions more powerful. Think of it like physical exercise. The first workout might leave you sore and tired, but as you build strength and endurance, you become capable of greater and greater achievements. The development of psychic abilities often accompanies serious quantum consciousness work. As you become more sensitive to subtle energies and learn to operate from expanded states of awareness, you may begin experiencing telepathy, precognition, remote viewing, or other phenomena that mainstream science considers paranormal. These abilities aren't supernatural. They're natural consequences of learning to function as a conscious node in the quantum information field. The collective dimension adds another layer of power to your practice. When you meditate or set intentions with others, your individual quantum fields begin to synchronize, creating coherent patterns of much greater amplitude than any single person could generate alone. This is why group meditation, prayer circles, and intention-setting gatherings can produce effects that seem disproportionate to the number of participants. The Global Consciousness Project at Princeton University has documented this phenomenon scientifically, showing that when large numbers of people focus their attention on the same event, random number generators around the world become less random, displaying patterns that suggest a global coherence in human consciousness. Major events like 9/11, the death of Princess Diana, and New Year's celebrations have all produced measurable effects in electronic equipment designed to detect consciousness-related anomalies. Modern technology has opened up possibilities for collective consciousness work that previous generations couldn't imagine. When thousands or millions of people focus on the same intention simultaneously, connected through digital networks and synchronized timing, they create global coherence patterns that can influence weather systems, reduce violence in targeted areas, and accelerate positive social changes worldwide. Yet the technology is just a tool. The real power lies in the consciousness using it. A single person holding unwavering faith and deep emotional alignment with their intentions can sometimes produce more dramatic results than a large group of people going through the motions without real conviction or emotional engagement. This brings us to one of the most important principles of quantum reality creation. Authenticity and alignment are more powerful than technique or effort. The quantum field responds to who you really are, not who you think you should be or who you're trying to become. When your conscious intentions align with your deepest values, highest excitement, and most authentic self-expression, you tap into currents of creative power that can seem miraculous from the perspective of ordinary consciousness. Conversely, when you try to create outcomes that don't truly serve your highest good or that come from ego desires rather than soul calling, you're working against the natural flow of the quantum field. You might achieve some temporary successes, but they'll require constant effort to maintain and will often come with unexpected costs or complications. Learning to distinguish between ego desires and soul calling becomes a crucial skill for anyone working with conscious creation. Ego desires usually involve trying to get something from the external world to fill an internal sense of lack. more money to feel secure, a romantic partner to feel complete, recognition to feel worthy. These desires often carry emotional signatures of desperation, need, or inadequacy that actually repel what you're trying to attract. Soul calling, on the other hand, involves expressing something from your internal depths into the external world, sharing your unique gifts, contributing to others' well being, participating in the evolution of consciousness itself. Soul based intentions carry frequencies of excitement, passion, and service that naturally attract the resources and opportunities needed for their fulfillment. When you align your intentions with your soul's calling, you're working with the evolutionary impulse of the universe itself. The quantum field seems to conspire to support endeavors that serve the greater good while also honoring individual authenticity and creative expression. Opportunities arise, resources appear, the right people enter your life at precisely the right moments, and obstacles that seemed insurmountable suddenly resolve themselves. This doesn't mean the path becomes effortless or that challenges disappear. Rather, the challenges become meaningful parts of your growth process rather than arbitrary obstacles. You develop resilience, wisdom, and capabilities that you need for your next level of service and expression. Each difficulty becomes a teacher. Each setback becomes a redirection towards something better than you originally imagined. The universe often delivers your desires in unexpected packages that require you to expand beyond your current limitations to receive them. The promotion you've been wanting might come with responsibilities that force you to develop leadership skills you didn't know you had. The relationship you've been calling in might appear in a form that challenges your preconceptions about what love looks like. The creative project you've been nurturing might open doors to opportunities you never imagined possible. The quantum field also responds powerfully to gratitude, but not just gratitude for what you already have, gratitude for what you're calling into being. When you can genuinely feel thankful for your desired reality as if it already exists, you create a powerful resonance between your current frequency and the frequency of your intended future. This resonance generates attractive forces that draw circumstances, people, and opportunities toward you, like iron filings to a magnet. Living in gratitude for future possibilities requires a fundamental shift in your relationship with time. Instead of seeing the future as something that will happen to you, you begin experiencing it as something you're actively creating through your present moment choices. This future-oriented gratitude isn't delusional optimism. It's a sophisticated understanding of how consciousness participates in the unfolding of reality through time. Forgiveness operates as another quantum tool, releasing energetic binds that keep old patterns locked in place. When you forgive someone who has hurt you, you're not condoning their behavior or pretending the hurt didn't happen. You're releasing the energetic charge that keeps you connected to that painful experience, freeing up creative energy that was trapped in the past and making it available for building new realities in the present moment. Resentment and blame create energetic cords that continue feeding your life force to past events and relationships. As long as you remain energetically bound to old hurts, a portion of your creative power remains unavailable for new creation. Forgiveness cuts these cords, allowing your energy to flow freely toward your chosen future, rather than being stuck in unwanted past experiences. Self-forgiveness may be even more important than forgiving others. Every time you judge, criticize, or reject aspects of yourself, you create internal resistance that interferes with your ability to broadcast coherent intentions into the quantum field. The harsh inner critic that most people carry acts like static interference, disrupting the clarity of your energetic transmission and creating mixed signals that produce mixed results. Self-compassion, the positive alternative to self-criticism, creates internal coherence that amplifies your manifesting power. When you treat yourself with the same kindness you would show a beloved friend, you create internal harmony that translates into external harmony. Your relationships improve, your health gets better, and opportunities flow more easily because you're no longer fighting an internal war that drains your creative energy. The practice of self-compassion involves recognizing that making mistakes, experiencing setbacks, and having limitations are natural parts of the human experience. Rather than using these inevitable challenges as evidence of your inadequacy, you can learn to see them as opportunities for growth, learning, and increased compassion for others who face similar struggles. As you develop skill with these quantum practices, you begin to notice that reality becomes increasingly responsive to your internal state. Synchronicities multiply, meaningful coincidences occur more frequently, and you find yourself in the right place at the right time with remarkable regularity. These aren't random occurrences, they're evidence that your consciousness is successfully interfacing with the quantum field of infinite potential. Carl Jung coined the term synchronicity to describe meaningful coincidences that seem to suggest an underlying connection between inner psychological states and outer events. From a quantum perspective, synchronicities are natural expressions of the non-local correlations that connect consciousness with physical reality. When you're aligned with your authentic path and broadcasting coherent intentions, the quantum field orchestrates circumstances to support your journey in ways that often seem magical or miraculous. The more you trust and follow synchronistic guidance, the more it appears in your life. This creates a positive feedback loop where increasing trust generates increasing evidence for the trustworthiness of the quantum guidance system. Eventually, you may find yourself navigating life more through intuitive guidance and synchronistic flow than through purely rational planning and effort. But perhaps the most profound shift occurs in your relationship with uncertainty and change. Instead of fearing the unknown, you begin to recognize it as the space where all possibilities exist. Instead of trying to control outcomes through force or manipulation, you learn to influence them through alignment and attraction. Instead of feeling like a victim of circumstances, you recognize yourself as a conscious participant in the ongoing creation of reality itself. This transformation ripples outward into every area of your life. Relationships become more authentic and fulfilling as you stop trying to get love and start expressing it. Work becomes more meaningful and successful as you align your actions with your deepest values and most natural talents. Health improves as you release stored emotional patterns and choose thoughts and feelings that support vitality and well-being. The shift from trying to get to choosing to give represents one of the most powerful quantum transformations possible. When you approach relationships from a perspective of what you can contribute rather than what you can receive, you create an energetic generosity that naturally attracts love, appreciation, and support from others. When you focus on how you can serve in your work rather than how much you can earn, you align with the universe's abundance in ways that often lead to greater material prosperity than purely self-centered approaches. This principle of giving to receive works because it aligns you with the fundamental flow of energy in the universe. Energy is always moving, always circulating, always seeking new forms of expression. When you block this flow by trying to hoard energy for yourself, you create resistance that ultimately limits what you can receive. When you allow energy to flow through you freely, sharing your gifts and resources generously, you become a channel for increasingly greater flows of abundance. The ultimate realization is that you are not separate from the universe trying to get something from it. You are the universe becoming conscious of itself through your unique perspective. Your thoughts, emotions, dreams, and intentions are the universe thinking, feeling, dreaming, and intending. When you align with this truth and begin functioning as a conscious agent of creative evolution, you discover that you have always possessed the power to transform not just your personal reality, but reality itself. This recognition of your cosmic nature doesn't diminish your individual humanity, it enhances it. You begin to experience your personal life as simultaneously deeply meaningful and part of something infinitely larger than yourself. Your successes become victories for the whole, your challenges become opportunities for collective learning, and your growth contributes to the evolution of consciousness throughout the universe. The next thought you think, the next emotion you feel, the next intention you set, each one is an opportunity to exercise this quantum power. The choice is always yours. Will you create from old patterns of limitation and separation, or will you step into your role as a conscious co-creator of a reality beyond anything you've previously imagined possible? The universe is waiting for your answer, not in words, but in the frequency of consciousness you choose to embody in each precious moment of your existence. Remember that this power comes with responsibility. As you develop greater ability to influence reality through consciousness, you also bear greater responsibility for the effects of your thoughts, emotions, and intentions. Use this power wisely, with love for all beings and with dedication to the highest good of all creation. In doing so, you become a force for healing, evolution, and the manifestation of heaven on earth.